Hey, Raf here with the Alpine Start, and today we're going to take a look at how to wrap your tools for dry tooling and mixed climbing using road biking tubes. So I use road biking tubes for wrapping my tools. I found it to be, one, the cheapest because they're free. You just go to your bike shop and pick up reused bike tubes. They usually have a hole or a leak or something, or for whatever reason they're in the garbage. The bike, you can't use them on the bike, but they're perfectly fine for what we're using them for. And second, they're really durable. They're much more durable than any sort of 3M or grip tape or basically any other tape I've ever tried. So what you need is your bike tube. You just cut the valve off and then split it lengthwise and then split it lengthwise again until you end up with basically a couple strips of bike tube sort of like this, and mine are pretty ragged. I'm not too worried about how precise I am with the cutting and all that, as long as you kind of have two strips that are more or less, you know, the same width. And one bike tube will do two tools, so one tube per pair. And here's how I go about wrapping my tools. So for example, the Extremes have this little hole in the handle, and obviously the wrapping covers this up. You can kind of do it a different way so it doesn't. The way I do it, I just use the hole as my starting point. So you pass your tube through and just stretch it over, applying a fair bit of tension just to kind of self-lock it in there. And then you just overlap the tube, applying quite a bit of tension. I stretch it a fair bit, not to the point of breaking because you can actually rip the tube apart, but just enough so you're kind of applying a pretty nice even layer of bike tube over the whole handle. I overlap of about 50%, so there's a lot of kind of durability built in. If you just have a less overlap, the tube can slip and reveal the grip underneath, which then starts the whole process from peeling. And there you go, just kind of keeping even tension. Rotate the tool in one hand and keep tension on the tube with the other. Pommel is always the tricky part. It sort of requires a couple wraps in one way, and then swap directions, and then now you're onto the upper shaft, and this is the easiest part. Again, just maintaining tension and keeping the tube from slipping using my other thumb. And one tube will kind of do a tool quite high up, so if you're only wrapping sort of a little, you know, less height, then you will need to cut off a bit of extra. For what I'm using, this is sort of like one tube and it's about a handle and a bit. And then you grab a little piece of tape and just secure it in the same direction as your rubber wrapping, and trying to make sure that you have the tape halfway onto the rubber and halfway onto the shaft so it doesn't actually slip off. And there you go. That's a wrapped up tool, and you've got room for your hand on here, and you have an upper grip, and there's a little bit of extra space there if you want to do an upper match, or just if you're doing some kind of mixed or dry tooling moves. You can just throw that tool in your teeth, and then you're clamping down onto a rubber tube instead of a hard aluminum shaft. So that's about it. I hope this helps, and thanks for watching.